memes, and markets. We talk a lot on this show about the world of Web3, blockchain, crypto. When you hear those words, do you have some visceral gut reaction to them?
Scam. My response to the Rorschach test is scam for all of those things. I haven't been the least tempted by any of them. Yeah.
So awesome. That's interesting. So if you agree and believe that like money is fake, right? There's no interest in something that could make it more real.
Why does that make it more real?
Well, if it's lent into existence as it currently is, if we could create a fixed, accountable supply, would that not alter things quite a bit?
I mean, but that doesn't do it any more than like the gold standard, or I have dollar bills and those are real in some sense, right? Like all of these things we just imbue them with value that help us, engage in, we view them as promissory notes that allow us to engage in some sort of transaction. I guess we can do that with blockchain. I guess I don't have in principle an objection to other means of grounding currency. But I didn't trust any of the people that were doing it, and all of the
totally fair.
It had all of the trappings of pyramid scheme stuff. The dominant idea, or I guess there are several different dominant ideas, but one thread of it was this is great because it's outside of all of the governments. Right? There's no authority over us. Or you're just we have you have no recourse when we screw you over, is what I hear. Not that I'm a big person who's oh, the government's always going to save me either, but
totally fair.
Super cool thoughts. Absolutely. Well, on the Bitcoin thing in particular, there's different camps of the whole Web3 thing. There's blockchain is more important than crypto itself, right? So the ability to have an immutable ledger of things that have happened throughout the past.
Yeah. Which I like. Cool technology. No issues there with that for sure.
Cool. And then there's the people that are well, none of that even matters if it's not Bitcoin itself, because essentially the security of all of that is flawed versus the Bitcoin system. So yeah, I was curious if you've dug into the concept of the proof of work and that consensus mechanism that is essentially trying to take, so when we say there's no inherent value to any money, what the Bitcoin maximalist would say is that what Bitcoin does is it takes energy and converts that into money, right? Which is something that is not really so objective, not so subjective as being valuable. Energy is objectively something that we all need to survive. Both literally within ourselves, we must have energy to do anything and to be able to create and produce, but also from the physical perspective of oil, right? Or any other energy source that you need in order to have a functioning society. If you can convert that into actual money, which is what a Bitcoin maximalist would claim that Bitcoin legitimately does, then could that actually be something that is inherently valuable, but looks nothing like any other money system that we've seen before?
So in what sense is it converting energy? Is because it takes energy to form on its surface, doesn't that just seem incredibly wasteful? The way I think of what money is supposed to be doing for us is something I can do a bunch of work, right? If we just go back to barter system, or the advent of money, where it's all right, I gave you my cow or whatever, and you just I gave you the energy, but the energy is still usable. But Bitcoin is we destroy the usefulness of this energy and then we put it into this token that is now at this. That feels inherently so wasteful to me. Am I missing something there?
Keith, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you're missing anything there. I think the argument would be that the energy is being converted into this thing, right? That now allows you to use it to get people in motion. And the way that I think of money, right, is it puts people in motion, right? It gets people to do things, to be more productive, to create products, services, things of that nature. So, and I think one of the major things of because energy is actually free, right? When we really think about it, energy comes from the sun, right? So the only problem is the way in which we're able to harness that energy, right? It to some degree, or
Okay.
is that false? I'm not a scientist. I'm just speaking philosophically in a sense, I guess.
It seems like there's something right about, solar energy. Like there's a ton of solar energy out there if we can figure out how to harness it. But we have a serious problem with we can't get all the energy that we need. Like when there were blackouts in Austin during our snowpocalypse or whatever in 2021, I wasn't like, well, energy's actually free, so I don't know what's going on here.
Well, yeah. So the point being, the Bitcoin maximalist is saying that what this is doing is this is incentivizing society to get as close to free energy as possible, because now it's money, and you can be incentivized in this form of Bitcoin to do that, right?
I mean, but that's already pretty incentivized, right? If like I don't need Bitcoin to exist to say like if I had access to infinite energy, I could do, all sorts of cool things with it in the entire like in the absence of Bitcoin. I don't think that adds anything to the future. It feels to me like what Bitcoin is doing with energy is like instead of me selling you a cow and then getting a piece of paper that is a promise, right? A relatively cheap piece of paper, or whatever, but backed by a government or some authority or some social standards, whatever you like. Again, this is just bad economics. People feel free to. What am I missing? Feel free to correct me in the chat. Right? That's the phrase. But like I'm giving you the cow. The cow is still useful, right? Like the energy and the money is like I don't want to be wasting energy and generating that. Like if I gave you the cow and then you like crush the cow into a giant dollar bill, I'd be like, but that you just wasted all the beef and the milk. And that's sort of like that was the whole point of having the cow in the first place. You're like, no, but I stored the energy and energy is free. I'd be like, that's freaking wasteful. What's going on here?
Hey, you made it to the end of the clip. That means you're probably enjoying this. And if so, just know that you can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. Otherwise, YouTube thinks that you will enjoy this next.